Tonight I'm going to talk about raising up leaders. Now, for those that have been keeping track, this is actually part 3. So before you get concerned, I am going to do a quick review of part 1 and 2, so you haven't lost any segue. But the thing about developing leaders, it absolutely is the most important action you can take to build a diamond business. So if you want to really have a business that is overflowing, it's overwhelming, it is enjoying explosive growth, you're going to have to raise up leaders. Sorry, you can't possibly sign up enough kits. You can't do everything. For you now by yourself, you have to have a situation where you're going to raise up leaders. So before we dig into how you empower and release your leaders, which is part 3, let me introduce myself. As Jill said, my name is Eric Walton, and with my wife, Tammy, who really does the real work, we've been diamonds for over 5 years, and we've been with Young Living, over 9, almost 10 years now. For the past 11 years, I've been a certified John Maxwell leadership coach, focusing on developing leaders. Now, I've trained over 1,500, that's 1,500 Young Living leaders and over 150 diamonds, helping them to raise their lid through my downline leadership program. So prior to coaching, I was an executive in the tech industry for 30 years, where I raised over 100 leaders. Now, with all that background, let's talk about how you get there. So let me talk about your business first, just for a second. To start and maintain your business, just like any business, you need customers. I hope this is not the real surprise here. You got to have customers, people who are going to buy oils and other wild products for their families. You do. Customers are the core of any business, and certainly are for Young Living as well. You can have a successful little business if you continue to get and retain customers. But it will be difficult to grow your business beyond your own skills and time. Think about it. If you're only going to sign up and enroll people, which is a good thing, I might add, but if that's all you're going to do, you're always going to be limited to how many classes you can have, how many vendor events you can go to. You're always going to be limited by your skills and your time. To grow your business past yourself, you need business builders, AKA brand partners. People who want to take this wild oil journey to the business level and help other customers help their families. So think about it. When you are doing new customers, you're playing the addition game. I am adding to my business. But wait a second, when you add a builder, you're now multiplying your business. And we have a third one. And when you are developing your builders to develop other builders, you now have explosive growth. So think about this. Do you want to just add to your business? Do you want to multiply your business? Or do you want to have explosive growth? Hopefully that's not a hard question. But it really requires that you be the leader that's going to do that. So the definition of a leader, and a leader is someone who inspires, motivates, and influences others towards achieving their goals. And by the way, only leaders develop other leaders. So it's really, really important. I don't want to make this overextended, but everything rises and falls on leadership. It really does. Yes, you have to be a good manager of your business, but only leaders develop other leaders. So again, if you just want to run your business, add people, you're going to have people that will start to emulate that. That's great, but you're only going to add. If you want to multiply, you can start other brand partners and builders. And if you want to have explosive growth, those builders are going to raise up other builders. Really simple. Now, if you've read the book, Downline Leadership, you know they have a success formula. S equals M times L. So that's S as in Sam is equal to M as in Mary times L as in Larry. Here's what it means. Your success is going to be determined by your management competency, how well you run your business, times your leadership effectiveness. This is the big secret, therefore, that leadership is the multiplier. We've talked about this several times now when I've been on here. It hasn't changed. So what's the takeaway to building a diamond business? Customers are critical, builders add to your business, and leaders are the only way for outrageous growth to occur. So let's get to raising up leaders, all right? All right, I said there were 3 parts, and tonight I'm going to talk about the part 3, but let me do a quick refresher on the other 2. 3 parts to raising leaders. Part 1, and I know that everyone's really focused on this right now. Find them and recruit them, right? So you don't need to worry about the other 2 parts if you don't find them. So the first thing, as your first homework assignment, is that you must put together a list, handwritten list, typewritten list, but a list, even on your phone and notes, a list that contains what are the things that you are looking for to find a brand partner. I'm going to give you a couple examples, but you have to have this list. Now, why? Because you have to be sensitized to it. And by the way, I'm going to read my list. You can steal and take from it whatever you want, but the end result has to be your list. And the reason is that things that perk up my ears and my eyes are not the same things that will work for you. Now, some of them are going to, for sure, they're going to be common. But what I'm saying is you have to really find what are those things that are really important to you. I had a friend that she just liked doing classes. Is how she resonated with people. And she felt that she was going to be more effective if she had other people who like classes. This doesn't make her right, doesn't make her wrong. But guess what? She tended to recruit people who did classes. And she built a really good business. Now there's other people that do things other way through social media, et cetera, but she was effective. She stayed in her lane and she recruited people to be brand partners who also did classes. Her lessons, the things that she modeled always fit in. All right, let me give you a couple of lists. So what are the things you look for? You have to do your list. But for example, I look for things where their life has been changed. If people don't have a story about how Young Living changed their life, they're less interesting to me as people that will build their business. By the way, I'm telling you mine right now. This doesn't mean that it's yours. I like people who take initiative, people who like to receive counsel, and people like to take action. I love people that are creative and that are passionate. I especially love people that like to ask questions. I know some of my friends that don't like people who like asking questions because they get driven nuts by the constant barrage of questions. That's how I learn. That's how the people that I work with, that's how they learn. I like people who follow through. If they make a commitment, they don't ever mess it up. I like people who like to care, they're friendly. I don't like working with difficult people. Again, that doesn't mean that these people can't be successful, they can't be a brand partner. Generally not on my team. I like people that they like to meet needs. They like to meet where people's are. They like to solve problems. So you got to be thinking about now, what are the things on your list right now? Do they have to be self-motivated or not? Do they have to be positive outlook or not? Do they have to be go-getters? Do they have to love a challenge? Here's one of my favorites one. I love people that have grit. It's an old word. Do you need to have people that have grit? And again, you don't have to have all these, but here's your assignment. What are yours? How can you possibly find anyone if you don't know what you're looking for? So in this very first thing, we haven't even gotten how to develop and train these up, but the first thing you have to do is you have to find them. And I just gave you a really, really secret start point. Just put a list down. Now, by the way, I'm going to help you. Of course, you can add to the list and take off the list as time goes on, but you got to start somewhere. So then what you're going to do, now that you've got this list, you're going to start sending out wide nets into your downline, whether it's in posts through your team or just PMs or even text messages. And I love sending out specific notes that go after only one of the items. Now, before everyone thinks that they got to find someone that has all 84 different criteria, trust me, that person doesn't exist. So instead of trying to send a note out with all 84, just send a note out where what you're looking for is you're teasing. If they respond, you know that they are a creative individual, because only creative people would have responded to your note. And what do I do? So I sent out this note, I sent it to 1,000 people, and only 4 people replied. What do you think I do? I put those 4 people in my creative bucket. I actually keep track of the 4 people who replied. Now I've got 4 people to go specifically after. I'm going to ask them different questions. I'm going to try to find out more things about them. But I'm going to specifically focus on their creativity. I'm not going to worry about do they have the other 83 criteria. I know that they are creative. Now, they may not work out, but notice I started with a list. I put out a couple of teasers that were specific to specific items, and I'm starting to get in smaller ones. Think about this. You're sending out this huge net into this big lake, and I get a couple of fish. Well, I take those fish and I put them in a small little container, only for the creative, only for the ones that are coachable, only the ones that have grit. I just put each one in there so I know how to talk with them. And the language is going to be really important. The more that I talk to them, the more I find out whether or not the feedback and the intuition I was using was right. And once I uncover, let's say the 4 people, remember the 4 people I got, 3 of them, they were creative, but they weren't going to work out. But one person looks really interesting. I then have what I call my ABC pitch, was that first thing I talk to people about becoming a brand partner ready. So you're going, wait a second, you did all the work at one person? Yeah. And how many of you would like to have one brand partner tomorrow that's ready to go kick this business door down? Well, I kind of know that every single one on this call right now is raising their hand. So all I'm saying is, I'm just giving you a way to get to that one person, because the biggest problem I'm finding right now is people are having trouble finding potential builders. I just gave you a way to do it, right? Get your list. I just do specific posts or communications about one particular element, one criteria of your list, get the couple of responses and put them in a special little holding pen. So then you can start to communicate with just those 4, find out which ones are genuine, which are not real. But because let's say it's the creative one again, everything you talk to them is around creativity. The ones that are truly creative are going to bubble up. Maybe you get 2 out of the 4, maybe 3 out of the 4, or maybe only 1 out of the 4. Oh my gosh, if I got 1 out of 4, even though I sent a note out to 1,000 people, I got 1 with that 1 note. Man, I'm on top of the world. So now that I found them, right, and I just gave them that pitch, I have to really, what's the pitch made up of, by the way? What the business opportunity is, what the income opportunity, time and financial freedom. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You're trying to get to where you can actually entice them so that you can recruit them. Now, entice is not a bad word here, right? What I'm saying is that what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them encouraged, excited, and interested in doing the business. So let me do one more time. You've got this 18 different criteria for you that defines what a builder means in your business. And you're going to write a post to just one of the 18. Now, by the way, you're going to write obviously 18 posts over time, 1 post for each one. And all you're doing is trying to look for the people that resonate with that specific criteria of a builder. So the message is just going to be, it's meant to be, you're not looking for who are my creative folks, right? That's not the sense of the message. You're doing a post where the kind of people that are going to respond to it are the creative ones. Hey, I need help with someone who can draw a picture. Well, I mean, all the creative folks are going to like, yeah, what kind of picture do you want drawn? They don't have to be artists because they're just automatically thinking about how they can draw a picture. So with one simple little post, just looking for people to draw a picture, you got 5 people that showed opportunities that they could be creative, right? So now you've got the people identified that could be, and then you start doing more creative talk with them, and specifically a specific pitch on getting them involved in the business. So now you've got this concept, I'm going to find them and I'm going to attract them. Right? Everybody with me? That's part 1. Find and attract. So remember, I in my example, I had 1,000 people. I only got 1 person, but guess what? 1 person is more than some of the people I know right now. I got 1 brand partner out of that 1,000-person campaign. And oh, by the way, and they are serious. I can't wait to get going. What do? Part 2, train and develop them. Yeah, this is on you. No, this is not on corporate. Yes, Ben did a phenomenal job today in the Gold Bingo. If you had a chance to see him, I think he's going to be a great resource for Young Living. But this is your business, your team. These are your leaders. You are going to train and develop them. Now, I love utilizing Young Living resources, but it's on you. If I can't be any more explicit, all this thing around training and development is on you. And I'm just trying to train and develop 1 brand partner. Think about this for a second. I know there's several people where one of the people they recruited ended up becoming a diamond. So who on this call wouldn't mind having a diamond in their downline? Let's see, my OGV, what would that look like? Yeah. about $750,000, right? I mean, all of a sudden your OGV is pegging up because there's someone underneath there that you trained it up. Remember what's the magic of this business? They're not tied to you, and you could be a senior star and still have a diamond in your downline. Well, the answer is you wouldn't likely be a senior star unless you had really some leg issues. But you have this huge, now you got a thunder thigh. So it's on you to start expanding your business. Yeah, I would like threes, please. I like that. So, but how are they going to get there? Now, I'm just going to help you. It is not impossible for people to get to diamond on their own, but it is very difficult. So the same thing that you want to help them to get there, they're looking for help as well. They're looking for you to be hands-on. They're looking for you to spend time with them in groups, one-on-ones, in writing and voice. They're looking for you to spend time with them, right? And by the way, I am seeing the glance of chats. So I don't have my chat window on. If people are trying to pretend that I'm going to really answer your questions right now, I don't want to let you down for any things, which is to say I will go back and do my very best when this gets posted. So the shorter text, the shorter messages are going to more than likely catch my attention if you understand what I'm saying. By the way, see it on the screen. All right. So the whole concept here again, I'm working. I started with 1,000. I got up, managed to find them. I got down to one person. I'm now going to train and develop them. So what does that mean? Well, first we're going to talk. Remember, we talked about the formula: S equals M times L. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to teach them how to run their business. Haven't even talked about their leadership yet. Now, my wife and I, we use a very simple thing called the 5 pillars. And it just means we're going to teach them and train them on how to share, follow up, educate, serve, and build. Right? And for those that don't know, here's the 5 pillars. Selfless plug. Thank you, Jill, for smiling. All right. Share, follow up, educate, serve, and build. I didn't make these words up. We just put them in the little rocks on top of each other. It's the foundational element of the business. There are other ones that are great. You can use RISE from corporate. You can use Game Plan from my friend Sarah Harnish. Oil, Share, Repeat with Dory Doyle is one of my favorites because this get really simple. Because this business is actually really simple to do. It really is. It's just you got to get people that want to do it. All right, so now you worked on the management part. But then the next thing you want to do is you want to start to teach them how to lead. Remember, S equals M times L, and we're trying to train and develop them. I found and recruited them. Now I'm trying to train and develop them. And to do that, I've got to help them with their leadership. Now, obviously, I am a ridiculously big fan, as I knock my books over, of Downline Leadership, another selfless plug. But let me talk just a couple of things about leadership principles. First, situational leadership. As a leader, you have to be extremely cognizant at all times as to what kind of style does this situation require. If you're not able to understand or to be flexible that each situation requires a different style, you're going to be very limited in what you can do. So if you're going to come in with only one leadership style, you're only going to get one kind of result. Here are the 4 that I teach: director, teacher, mentor, and coach. The director is going to tell people what to do, which is the most efficient, the least effective. Teacher is going to show you what to do, much more effective. Mentor is going to share with you what they would do. And a coach is going to ask questions of you. Thank you, Christy. 5 pillars was share, follow up, educate, serve, and build. And all you got to do is get that book. You got it. Situation leaders, director, teacher, mentor, and coach. How do you know? Intuition. You can't be a leader unless you're being extremely intuitive. Whenever I go into a situation and I don't know what's going on, who's been hurt, what drama's at stake, what's happened, who did Young Living not get the job done, I ask a question first, and then I listen to the very best of my ability. I just listen. And then I'll know whether or not I need to just tell people what to do, show them what to do, share them with them what I would do, or ask them what they think they should do. Next element of leadership is ownership. They have to own their business. In the history of Young Living, no renter has ever become a diamond. Only owners become diamonds. And when you have people on your team who don't own their business, you know what happens. You end up owning it, or they think Young Living ends up owning it. Next is something called innovation. It's very difficult to be an effective leader unless you're willing to innovate, evolve, and change. Think about 10 years ago when Lindsay Moreno came on board, and she helped to institute just the huge change at Young Living to go into social media. Now, this was already a billion-dollar company. It had been built primarily by doing classes in person. But if you've ever seen a historical revenue stream, it is the biggest hockey stick you've ever seen. It goes like this, and then when Lindsay introduced social media to Young Living, it went straight up, doubled in size over a very short period of time. Innovation. What are some other additional qualities of a leader that you want to be able to teach them? Character. Boy, if this isn't a big one right now with everyone that has dealt with folks that have left for other MLMs, having someone who has integrity, someone who's bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. I'm looking for people that have that. I'm looking for people that have charisma. I want to teach that. I want to understand what it means to draw people to themselves. By the way, I didn't say extrovert or introvert. I said charisma. Charisma is the very nature where people are drawn to you by what you say and what you do. I want to teach people what it means to be committed. This business is a long haul business, period. Long haul. That will potentially become generational wealth. And that means I could pass this on to my children and my grandchildren. Your job at any company does not represent that. Does not. Can't. You don't own it. So the commitment to get there, the dedication, the focusing on the goal is going to be critical. Leaders are able to communicate. You have to be able to think that. You have to be able to understand what it takes to be an effective communicator through multiple mediums, whether it's social media, whether it's voice or not. You have to be able to be competent. The ability to say it, plan it, and do it. Shows up, a leader that shows up every day, follows through with excellence, but accomplishes more than expected. I need people that are going to be competent. I'm going to teach that. One of my favorites when I'm teaching leaders, what it means to be a leader is to have courage, the willingness to take a risk. Think about the first time you went to convention, right? Frequently, people like a senior star or maybe an executive, the cost to go to convention is more than your check has been for the last 6 months combined. That's called taking a risk. That means that going to convention is going to be so important, so impactful to you, your business, and anyone else that can go with you. And that's why Stacy's right. Who's going to convention? We're going. We're going to convention this year. And I want to encourage everyone that's listening right now that you should be doing everything you possibly can to get there. I know that they have some tremendous options on doing the virtual, which we've all done the last couple of years. And I think they've done a wonderful job putting that together. I'm just going to tell you the truth. That does not compare to being there in person. It does not. It's just not the same. And I don't mean just the part about seeing friends and being able to hug some people, which is true, but you actually can't connect the same way. You're not going to hear, even just being in the convention center, just hearing some of the people speak. I'm going to hear Christian Boss differently than you all that don't go. I am. You may get a better picture depending on the quality of the camera, but you're not going to. I'm going to hear her differently. I'm going to see her facial expressions. I'm going to feel her vibe, her emotions better than you if you're not going. How will I know that? Here's another trait: discernment. I want to make sure that every single leader is able to not only be intuitive, but they can see the root issues. They're able to hear the truth. By the way, we're just doing part 2 right now. So part 1 was find and recruit. Part 2 is train and develop. So I'll let you know that I wasn't going to lay anybody down just to go on to the last part. I'm making sure we cover this. Train and develop. Where are people going to even hear the word intuition except from you? Think about intuition just as it relates to a simple thing. You're talking to someone and you want to know, are they genuinely interested in oils? 80% of the time, they're not giving you an overt signal. Yeah, the one that says, oh, I'd like to buy, here's a $100 check, what can I get? Sorry, love those people, but I haven't found too many of them. So the 80% that are willing to buy are giving signals that are harder to get there. Now, how do you train for intuition? Because you can. I actually do a role play with people. I actually help people with their intuition. It is not an easy thing to do. I have done it for several years now, but you can, there's some things, some tips I can teach you on how to do your intuition every day by yourself. And then when you're in a group, there's other things you can do. You can, but wait, aren't we talking about training and developing, right? This is your job to help the person on your team to grow their intuition. And if you don't know how, then it's time for you to learn yourself, because intuition is a critical part. Why? Because you can't get to the next step without being intuitive. Because getting to the next step means you have to do something different. Well, I don't know what to do different. Intuition will tell you what to do different. But your leaders have to have focus. They have to have one mind. They definitely have to be they have to have initiative. I know we're all looking for self-starters, but I want someone who actually understands the nature of self-starting. Not just the ones that get up early in the morning. I know some very successful people in this business that are late nighters. But what they do at night is they make a difference. I know people who do late nighters because they also have they have teams over in the Far East. And trust me, I have done more than my share of training at 2 in the morning in the Philippines. Not 2 in the morning there, by the way, 2 in the morning here. One of the key parts of training and developing is teaching leaders how to listen. Teaching them how to be able to shut up, to hear the concerns and the dreams of the people they're talking to. Being able to touch a heart before they ask for a hand. It's a great John Maxwell quote. I always love people with passion and with positive attitude. I also like people that are problem solvers. I'm on a diamond chat, and there's a couple of diamond leaders that like, how is it possible they know the answer to every single question that's asked? I mean, how is that possible? I'm kind of smart, pretty smart. I don't know these answers. Let me tell you how they do it. Because they keep answering. And when they're wrong, they go find it out. When they don't know the answer, they go find out the answer, and then they keep practicing. So they become the answer people because they focus on having answers. They become problem solvers. And the reality is that you've got a team, and when you're trying to teach a leader to lead their team, they have to become problem solvers. They have to have people that know how to develop relationships. So again, we're trying to teach these things. You have to teach people on how to be self-disciplined. When was the last class that you had online or in person? If the answer is more than a year ago, but I'm not even suggesting classes are your thing. But if you haven't tried a class in a while, you should. But you have to have that self-discipline to I know a bunch of people that want to have classes, but they can't get past the promotion of it, the discouragement if only one person or no one shows up. You have to be able to have self-discipline to get past that. Last one, what I want to teach and develop on is vision. I really want to have a vision for my business so that people that are around me are enraptured by it, they're captured by it, they want to be a part of it, and then they want to figure out how they can do that for their business. Now, when you're doing this, how do you actually do this development? I do it through relationships. I do it through one-on-one coaching. I do it through group coaching. But my whole purpose here is to help them to find their strengths and how to utilize them the best. Because there really is only one road to diamond, it's theirs. Your job is just to get out of the way and help them. All right, that's the critical part. All right, so part one was to find and recruit them. I gave you a way to actually to get after that. Part two is train and develop them. I spent a lot of energy just showing you different areas to train and develop them in. I've given you a couple of books that are resources. I want to suggest and offer, if you want to be part of one of my downline leadership groups, all you can do is go online and sign up. You don't have to do that. What I'm saying is that you've got to do something that's going to empower yourself to train and develop your team. If you're not training and developing your team, you will not raise up leaders. Let's go back now. If you want to have an additional business, a business that's focused on addition, you're going to have a small business. That may be all that you want. Then your focus is going to be on enrollment. I want to just get new customers. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, every leader has to enroll. But if you stop there, you will never be able to become a multiplying business, because only by having other builders on your team does your business begin to multiply. This is not some secret. I'm not making this stuff up. This is MLM 101 now. Recruit your own, build other builders. And then if you want to get explosive growth, you want to get builders who are going to raise up their own leaders. And then the multiplication goes crazy and you get explosion. All right, let's go to the last one though. So remember, I found and recruited them. I found them and recruited them. Now I've trained and developed them. What next? For some folks, this is the hardest one. Empower and release them. All right, empower and release them. So we talked about training them for sure, but the second thing to do when you're trying to empower someone is I have to enable them first. Let me explain what enablement means. When I enable someone, I'm going to provide access to resources and tools for that builder to run their business. Books, business cards, marketing materials, samples, enrolling scripts, follow-up tools, educational materials, classes, accountability groups. I'm going to put together the tools that this person needs that's going to augment their strengths. For example, we've got a builder on our team, and she just lives and breathes vendor events. When the summer hits, she is never home any single weekend. Every single weekend, she's at an event. So what do you think we did? Gosh, we made sure she had multiple tablecloths. Not just one, she had multiple tablecloths. She had different kinds of signage. She had different kinds of trays to put on the tabletop. Some that would show collateral, some that were able to portray oils, some that were sample oriented. So that she had this multitude of options, so that when she was getting ready to go to an event, she found out the nature of the event, but sometimes they don't even let you have a table. So she knew. I've seen her go to an event with her apron. If you've seen the raindrop one where you put oils in your apron, I've seen her go to an event just with an apron. But she knew how to do the event to the max every single time, and she had her vendor event tools in her garage waiting for her. She had multiple tables, different sizes, different shapes, and she had all the things that were every single time she went, she had the best booth in the event, guaranteed every time. Well, that didn't start off from the beginning. We worked with her. We went to lots of events that she was at. We would look at other places. We just continually kept working with her till she found the tools that made the most sense for her. And we made sure she had every access to them, found them. They're not always on Amazon. We helped her get to Etsy and Pinterest, whatever it took to find the right things. What was the purpose again? To get her in a situation where she was going to be successful, utilizing her tools to the best of her ability, which in alignment with her strengths. All right? But once you've enabled someone, what do you do next? Delegation. Now, I really want you to understand the difference between delegation and empowerment. They're very similar, and people use these words interchangeably, and they should not. Both of them, both words, delegation and empowerment, involve the assignment of a task. Right? I'm going to give this task to Mary and Jane. Right? I'll use an example that I've used way too many times, but it's very simple to understand. So we're going to go to that vendor event again. Delegation is when you assign a task and the person has limited to no decision-making ability about the task. Mary, I need you to bring a 4-foot by 6-foot rectangular table to the vendor event. On Saturday morning, be there at 8 a.m. I will help you get that out of your truck, right? So I'm being very specific. Now she's been given a task. Now, why am I delegating to her? Because I really need to see her in action. I need to see her follow up. I need to see her be accountable. I need to see her have that passion and energy. She's going to come with the things that were assigned to her. She's ready to make this event the best. And I don't know her well enough yet. I don't know all her decision making. So I took most of that away. Next event, I turned to Jane, who I've worked with at 5 different events. Jane, I need you to bring the table. And Jane, here's the phone number for the vendor or coordinator. You find out what table is going to work. You make a decision on what table you're going to bring. Round, rectangular, square, long, short, tall. You tell us what you're going to bring, why, and how we should be prepared. I've empowered her to take over the booth now, which is much different than delegated the table to her. Same task, right? Just bring a table, but now she's empowered. I'm now raising up a leader because she's making her own decisions. By the way, those decisions are going to be in alignment with her strengths and those of the team that are going to the vendor event. That's the big difference when it comes to empowerment. You're you're literally allowing this person to become their owner of whatever that task or event is, which is the kind of thing you're trying to do, because the next thing you want to get them to is ownership. Remember, we talked earlier, it's a very critical part of leadership. When you've found and recruited them, trained and developed them, empowered and released them, I only want to release owners. One of the things that's real common, people ask us all the time of me, when do you let people do their own Facebook group? Right? They're part of the big group. What does that look like? And I smile and I said, well, what does their road to diamond look like? I have known people that need to stay with the main group for many years. And I know people who are ready to leave the main group the day before they joined it. Now, my wife and I, we tend to be from the bigger the group, the bigger the bang, the more benefits you have, the more resources and tools you have. But guess what? It's always going to be our brand. And so if you're in alignment with that, then you're going to do a great time. But we've had some builders who wanted to have their own brand. All we try to do is we try to make sure, using intuition again, are they ready to own their own business? Because just setting up your own Facebook group, that's really not hard to do. Setting up an effective Facebook group, really hard. Really hard. Because do they have the right resources and tools? Do they have someone who's going to help them to write every single day, right? Every single day you got to be there. Imagine the difference between having a group that, let's say, maybe has 80,000 people, like Joe runs, versus having 8. The requirements to support an 80,000 person group are really different than an 8-person group, even though to create it took the same amount of steps on Facebook. It's much different. So I just want to make sure that people are prepared to own their own business and all the resources associated. But once they are, let them go. Don't make them stay on your team if they're ready to move. And here's why. There's 2 things you have to be very careful about now. Remember, we've got this, we went through training, enablement, delegation, and now empowerment. You're ready to set them free. Something happens. They make a mistake or something happens, and 2 things will tend to draw at you as a leader. First one is my favorite pitfall, and you go into micromanagement belief. Because they made a mistake, I'm now going to have to bring them back into the fold, keep them in Facebook jail for at least a year or 2. They're going to be forced to do everything I tell them to do until I desire or think I'm ready to let them go again. I'm over their shoulder. Every single time they're trying to do something, I've got a comment. I'm making sure I comment on every single post. Love that, except for you could have made it smart. I'm over the shoulder. No one likes to be micromanaged. So even if they've made a mistake, remember how many you made when you were building your business. Go into coach mode. Ask them, what did they learn from it? How are they going to make the changes necessary to avoid that mistake again? That's so much more important than you becoming that micromanager. Second pitfall is the one I call abdication. Right? This is where empowerment's gone too far. Mary, good luck. You got it. Give me a call in about 2 years. This is not about setting them free, which is to say, cut the cord. It's setting them free to be on their own, but with your support and your encouragement along the way. Just because someone's now got their own Facebook group or their Facebook of their own team does not mean you're not supporting and encouraging them. In fact, you are. If you go too far and you wave bye-bye, they're going to feel like they're all alone. And you all have heard this story, people that don't have diamond uplines, no one to help them. It's just a waste of time and energy to whine about that. Get engaged with people that want to be part of your success. We help people, it doesn't matter what level they're at, and we help people that cross line. We're just trying to find ways to support and challenge them. Now, we're not looking for folks that want to grab onto our leg and become anchor, because guess what? I'm still going to go through that training, enablement, delegation, and empowerment. I'm still going to get to where I can empower them to go out on their own again. But I don't want to abdicate. I don't want to just throw people over the edge of cliffs. So I want you to do something. Remember, the first assignment was to get that list to people to look for. Here's your second assignment. All right. And by the way, everything to an old finance guy, it's a bunch of spreadsheets, simple spreadsheet. All right. The rows are going to be the people that you have already who are builders, who are leaders, or that want to be leaders, or you think have leadership potential. Just make a list. By the way, if you've only got 3 people on the list, then you've got 3 more than somebody else. Just put the names down as those are your rows. Now, let's go to your columns. First column is going to be training. Second column is going to be enablement. Third column is delegation. Fourth one is empowerment. And the fifth one is ownership. So for each of the people on your list, I just want you to score each of the people on a scale of 1 to 10 where you think they are on that scale. So this is just training. Do you think Mary has been effectively trained? Is she a 6, 7, or 8? She knows her stuff. She knows how to run her business. She's got resources, tools. She's there. Training. Let me do the columns again. Training, enablement, delegation, empowerment, and ownership. Those are the 5 columns. And you're going to understand where I'm going here. I just want you to do your own self-evaluation of where your team is on these 5 columns. Here's the reason why. You're just going to be looking for the low numbers, right? So if Mary did pretty good on training and enablement, she even had done a couple of things on delegation, but you had never given her an empowerment opportunity, and she was a 3 on empowerment and she's a 0 on ownership. She's not ready to own her own business at all. This simple spreadsheet is going to show you where you need to put your energy. Versus, Jane, she's way back at enablement. She barely is out of training. She has no tools or resources. You're going to have to enable her. You have to make sure she's got books and resources. She used to do things with a pocket reference. I don't have that anymore. What are you going to do? You have to enable her to have the right tools for her to be successful based on her strengths. So it's just a way to keep score of where to spend your energy when you're trying to empower and release leaders. Where are they? By the way, if you're really good, you're going to add 2 more columns, which are those micromanagement and abdication columns. And there you just got to put an X. Blank is better. But if you go to Mary and you realize that you're in micromanagement mode, put an X in that column so that you can correct it. Or if with Jane, you realize that you just kind of let her go, wish her luck, send her a card, you abdicated. You were no longer connected with her. Right? So just the rows of the people that you think are leaders, could be leaders. I mean, just get the people you think have leadership potential and just grade them on those 5 columns: training, enablement, delegation, empowerment, ownership, and what we defined them before. It's just to give you a snapshot. Where do I start to have to put energy into people? Okay. Now remember, why are we doing all this? Adding customers is addition. Adding brand partners who build their own business is multiplication. And helping builders raise up other builders is explosive growth. Right, got that? Addition, multiplication, and explosive growth. And when they start to raise up their own leaders, that is a diamond path. That's a true game changer. Because there's nothing more rewarding than developing other leaders who take their business and grow other leaders. it becomes a huge exponential thing where you've got people that are level 6 that are becoming gold, platinum, and diamond. Addition, multiplication, and an exponential or explosive growth. Now, this is all part of the topic of raising leaders, which for those that are going to hold me accountable, I've been talking about as my next book for at least 2 years now. If I'm being truthful, closer to 3. So this was the challenge for me to do a presentation on all 3 parts. I've now done that. Yeah. So I'm having trouble now justifying why there is no part 4. I've got the chapters to write this, and this is what I'm going to do next. So in the meantime, while I write that, and by the way, when I write it, that means there'll be a group coaching program to go with it, which will actually help you to what it takes to raise other leaders. In the meantime, I really encourage you to figure out what it's going to take for you to grow your own leadership. What's that going to look like? How do I get that? How do I, it's hard for, remember, only leaders develop leaders. So how do I get there? And that would be just by taking my downline leadership class. I will put one last plug in. I've got a group that is trying to get started right now. I've got 3 people. I'm looking for 2 more. So if you PM me, I will get you on board with that downline leadership group. They haven't even picked their day or time. It will be in the evening. But we're going to figure all that out as soon as we have something to go. And then I think you're going to find it to be the most impactful training you've ever taken in your life. And I have a lot of people that will say amen to that. So I think that I can follow through on that. All right, so let me pause for a second. And okay, so now for all those that wrote brilliant questions before, for which I have not responded, I have a couple of minutes left. If you want to retype them, which is to say copy and paste, I will now pretend to respond because I did a little bit better. Had my brother been on this call with me, we would be just like the sisters and would have no time left. It was just me, so I've got a couple minutes. All right. Any advice how to communicate the latest bonus incentive to attract long haulers? Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Keep in mind first, you can't get long haulers unless they're not willing to be a short hauler. So be really specific. You are looking for people that want to be incentivized by the opportunity to earn money. Because there's just 2 big ones here, time and financial freedom. And I will tell you, in my experience, it's usually easier to sell financial freedom. And so if I'm trying to do the latest bonus incentive, there is no better way right now, no better time, I should say, than to start this business by finding a way to kickstart with these incentive bonuses. Now, in September, if and when, or however, what they ever do next with these bonuses, in September, I'd be writing OND, October, November, December, because the 4th quarter is the big time. So if I can get them started now, ride through the summer heat and get them steady for the 4th quarter, I've got them hooked into becoming brand partners. Thanks, David. Great question. Message the 1,000 to get the 4 fish. Okay, let me go back to that one because that was a good one. All right. Again, there's 1,000 people that you're going to send this mess up. By the way, 1,000, whether that's on your team or 1,000 people that might listen to your message. And you're just going to do one message per one of the 18 criteria you're looking for. Remember, my example was one of the things I like looking for in a builder is that they're creative. So I'm going to put a post out, and it's going to be looking for creative people. And the example I said, I'm just giving the example. You don't have to do this, heaven forbid. I'm having trouble drawing a picture, a specific picture of a coffee cup, but with a shark on it. Who can help me? Well, the only people that are going to respond to that silly of a post are people that are creative, because they're going to be immediately drawn to, oh, I can draw a picture of a shark on a coffee cup. And they do. So of the 1,000 people I send it to, I get 4 respond with coffee cup with sharks on. I take those 4 names and I now put them into my creative group. So guess what I'm going to do next with those 4 people? So remember, I'm fishing first in the 1,000 fish lake. How many right now are trying to find builders on your team, right? It's the big lake. I wish I could catch 100 fish. And if someone can teach me how to catch 100 fish with 1 PM, I'd be there. I caught 4. I know how to catch 4. of the four, I'm now going to try to find the one that's got that spark of creativity that's going to help them with the business. Everybody with me? So Marlene, I'm just trying to go from a message to 1,000, and the message is around that one specific criteria. And I'm trying to get those four fish. And then once I get the four fish, I'm going to pummel them with other creative ideas and thoughts to find out who's genuine until I get a chance to do my brand partner pitch. When do I do that? That's what intuition is all about. All right. Did you cover designing the message and character business and urgency? I can't envision doing this. Well, Christy, nope. This is your moment. So just take my example, Christy, and I want you to just change it now. So I'm gonna put you on, right? So Christy, in the chat, I want you to pick just one characteristic. Just pick one right now and just type it in. Just one characteristic of a potential builder. And by the way, you can't pick creativity. So what's one that you would look for? Self-motivated. All right. So now I just want you to think of what's one single sentence that you could put out there that would entice someone, get someone's interested who's self-motivated. Just one idea. And by the way, anyone else got an idea on a single sentence that would attract a self-motivated person, put that in. Marlene, I hear you. Just one sentence to help Christy out. and for those that are reading, Christy's not saying that's her sentence. She actually wants help. One sentence on someone. I'm trying to look for someone that is self-motivated. All right, here's an example. Hey, y'all, I'm trying to get together a bunch of people that are going to do the convention 5K virtually. Who is going to do the 5K? By the way, you can't pretend to do the virtual 5K unless you're self-motivated. Jennifer, I like yours too. But Chris, you see where I'm going? But before I help you with your own motivation, Christy, you heard we're sticking with the message. So I just gave you one example. If I was looking for someone who's self-motivated, I'd want to see who would be willing to sign up to the virtual 5K with me, which is 1,000% self-motivation, because there's no one there. There's no crowd, right? You're doing, you know, some people record it, but you know, there's nothing to do. And the only people that are going to get up Saturday morning and that are not at convention and walk or run the 5K are self-motivated people. Right? Oh, thanks, Christy. I appreciate that. That's another one. So Christy turned into a question. Brilliant, Christy. Thank you. I needed that help there. All right, everybody with me? So all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get you to just come up with that one idea. Okay. Yeah, and Jamie, that's exactly correct. We decided the characters, we go fishing. I understand, Marlene, but Marlene, hopefully you picked up a couple of examples. How do I do this? Now, I'm going to challenge you. This is, all we did was just one. I didn't know she was going to ask self-motivation, right? And we came up with two ideas in a matter of moments. It really didn't take us that long to come up with two ideas for self-motivation. That doesn't mean you're going to have all those ideas, but I'm telling you right now, if you just open up to a couple of the people, hey, I just need you a little brainstorming. Here are my 5 characteristics of a builder that I'm looking for, but I need help with my fishing statement. I'm going fishing and I don't have the right lure. I don't know if I'm supposed to use a worm or a fly. And don't let me get any more technical on the fishing example or analogy, but you're just looking for the right lure. It won't take long. Yeah, Tammy, that's a really good idea. Reverse it, which is where I think that's where Christy got to. Just reverse it so you're the one doing it. Yeah, so Christy, again, this goes to, so what do you do when you get the 4 fish? Got to be very intuitive. If you feel that all 4 were showing genuine exhibition, in my example, well, let's use yours, genuine exhibition of self-motivation, then just go to that next, either you got a conversation piece or, hey, you guys have just shown incredible self-motivation. It's the kind of people that I know will be successful in this business. I'd love to talk to you about doing the young living business, helping other people, and you are the right kind of people. So I would just go right into the pitch. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you're going to have to think of some other self-motivation conversations to get into. Hope that helps. All right, I am on time. Look at that, Jill, 2 minutes to go. By the way, for those that have any other questions, just PM me. And I what we just did in the last couple of minutes is what coaches do, by the way. We just get into a situation asking questions. I don't want to pretend I have all the answers. Oh my gosh. There are better books, there's better people that are much smarter than me. But here's the deal. Nobody knows Christy's business better than Christy. Now, that doesn't mean she's not stuck. It just means if we can help her, she'll get unstuck. She's going to come up with her own idea, which, trust me, is going to be 10 times better than my, would you want to go take a run at convention? She'll come up with better ideas. Just needs to be challenged, supported, and encouraged, which is what we do.